Hi everybody, it's Evelyn and I have two messages of the day for you. The one in front of you is from today, but first I'm going to do the Shaman Dreams read that we did. Go ahead and take a few deep breaths as I'm getting started. Sending lots of love and blessings out to everybody. Hope you're having a great day, and thank you so much for being here. Go ahead and take another deep breath if you'd like to. I'm going to get started with the Shaman Dreams. A lot of important messages came through in both reads. The Shaman Dreams was from yesterday morning, and this one's from today. Really profound stuff came through again, so some really cool information. So from the die for the twins today, and today is the 8th of July. We have the Cancer symbol, which also looks like the 69, which is the Ace of Pentacles in the Tarot, which is that offer of time, money, and energy, perhaps a new life. But Cancer energy, as well as the number 2 of the Divine Feminine, the High Priestess, Pisces energy there, the duality, as well as the mediation, right? Two sides of the same coin. And then we have the energy of Mars coming in here, the masculine aggression here. So we have Mars, which is Scorpio, Aries, kind of aggressive energy. We have the Cancer, which is very loving home energy. And then we have the 2 of the feminine balancing that out with the masculine. And this is like the 2 coming together with the 6 and the 9. And that's funny too, because the 309 came up again in the read this morning, which is that 369 energy, which is the 69 as well. So let's get going with my messages for you guys. Today's the 8th, and of course yesterday was the 7th. Yesterday on the 7th, it was the 7-7 portal. The 7 is the Chariot energy, and the day added up to 20, which is the Judgment, the wake-up call. And yeah, so the Judgment and the Chariot got really profound energies of, you know, bold movement forward, but in a decisive way, because we have Judgment, and that can be judgments as well. And you can see there's a lot of news that came up today. I don't usually watch the news or anything, but it did come up in the headlines about the Japanese leader who's been killed, and also assuring everyone about the abortion issues in the High Court, that the president was out there saying that there would be access to abortion. So you can read that stuff if you'd like to, but there is a lot of stuff, you know, specific, profound stuff in the news today. And I didn't know the Japanese leader, but I saw his picture, and the feeling about him was very good, actually. I was kind of surprised about that. And there were some energies about the different presidents that were coming up, kind of looking into those feelings. And it's okay to have your own perspective, your own knowing about different people. But remember, it's still about showing up every day in love, no matter who it is, right? It may not be someone you want to spend time with, but always not allowing other energies to pull yours down. You're the trainer of the horse. You're showing up with love and an apple every day, even if that wild horse, you know, kicks you in the face, basically, right? You walk away, but then you show up again the next day, no matter who it is, because you don't want to take that energy. You don't want to allow them to take that energy of love away from you. You don't want to lower your vibration to another's lower vibration, but keep showing up to help their vibration rise. And it's always their choice as well. That kind of energy was coming up. So it's not to judge anyone, but just to remember that, right? By judging others lowers your energy. So just remember to just be you, be love, and show up no matter who it is. And if they don't want to be love, then you can walk away. And if they are, then maybe they'll surprise you that day, and they'll actually show up in a really positive vibration. If you're in a negative vibration, you walk away. If it doesn't feel good to you, you walk away. That's always the choice. You show up in love, and if there isn't love there to be shared, then just walk away. And if there is, well, that's the icing on the cake, right? So yeah, and there's a lot of messages about love too that came across in the messages today. Really interesting messages. So yesterday morning, I woke up at my birthday, 9/18, and I was getting that energy from Frosty the Snowman, you know, happy birthday. And I was getting that Frosty rebirth. 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 And I was getting that Fros And then there was two, I don't usually, just watch random videos coming across my screen, but there was an old man playing a piano, and the piano number was 88. It was, it was like a public piano that people could sit down and play, and I think it was in the UK somewhere, unless it was Ireland, but somewhere around there. But it was a one older man playing the piano. He was so cute, but he's really good. And then another guy who wasn't quite as old as he was, probably more, middle age. He had some white hair there. And he just came up and started playing a duet with him on the piano. And it was a really cool video. But it was so funny, the piano was 88. And then another one from Simon Cowell's show of Josh singing I'm jealous of the night. I'm jealous of you. I'm jealous, right? But he was singing it for his friend who had died. It was an older video. I think it was from a few years ago, but it was really beautiful. And it made them cry. So that kind of energy, that very loving, the point of that both of those videos were commonalities between people, which came up again today. How is it that all people can connect? They connect through things that touch their heart. The old guys playing a duet on the piano together, and music and art, and then the other guy singing this song from his heart, which even connected with Simon, right? So it's very much that energy of finding that neutral ground. And I was just taking a picture of this read on the table, which I'm not getting to yet, but as soon as I was taking the picture, I was getting vernacular, which is that commonality, and I'll actually read you the definition when I get to the end there. So Shaman Dreams was this first read here, and here is that picture of the first read from yesterday, and this is the Shaman Dreams deck. Okay, so the first column is all the underlying energies, and you can see this is the top at the top, and then how far down I went in the deck, and then it just goes across. These three came out, and then these two, and so on, and then the last pile is a pile of cards I had to count. And that is the message, okay? So you have all the pictures there. At 10:28, I started the read, and 10:28 is the Wheel of Fortune, the 10 and the 28 of the Twin Flames, and that choice of path. From Shaman Dreams, the underlying energy of the first breath of the 21, the beginner's mind of that rebirthing that I woke up to, that frosty energy of happy birthday, like a child starting over again, and being that perpetual student of life. Then repairing the veil with forgiveness, and the 45, which is that purging of loss and regret, guilt and shame, the past, and tearing up with Simon Cowell in Josh's song. The wall of the 50, is that 50? I think it was 58. I just can't read my writing here. The 58 is that Four of Swords, the rest, the sleep, the break, the prayer, the meditation, or the 5D connection for me. The wall with the divine feminine block, the obstacle. And remember the wall, it's coming up like the wall of Constantinople or something, right? That a line of defense, so to speak. But here's this big dark wall with a hole in it. So it can be seen in different ways, right? It can be seen as protection. It can be seen as a prison. But there's a hole in this wall, which is a way out, as well as a way in. So the masculine is going to see that as a way that the enemy can get in, but the feminine is going to see that as a way out of the darkness. It looks very different from the outside in than the inside out, especially for the prisoner, which came up in the movie I watched the other night, which I still can't remember what it was called. Let's see if I wrote it down, because I always write down the movie names. Let's see. Oh, I have to tell you too, so funny, because I've been watching some of the David Letterman interviews on Netflix, and when I pull the animal, the wild unknown animal spirit cards, twice in a row for David Letterman and whoever he was interviewing, I was getting the vulture and the hyena, which is so funny, because right, that's the comic, the hyena. So funny. Let's see if that movie came up. So that movie was about in Africa, I forget which country it was. I want to say Uganda, but I don't know if it's Uganda or not. But they were, there's a lot of war, and they had to hide under the floor, which I've been talking about for the past couple reads. And the 4 women who were in prison together for almost 3 months, I think it was. Trace of Peace or Truce of Peace. I can't read my writing. It looks like TRUS, but I might have left the E out on the end of peace. And yeah, and how how awful it would be to be stuck with 3 other people in a hole, where there's no room. You all have to go to the bathroom there together and all that other kind of stuff. And but the gifts that come out of that as well, right? The bonding that happens because of that situation, because you've all been through it together. Again, the theme of commonality here. So closing that gap from the outside can look like a prison or protection from the inside. And how perhaps to tie things back together, and what to use to tie those things back together. In a literal sense, out in the rain, if you use like ribbon or something, it's going to wear out pretty quick outside. Whereas if you use something metal or plastic, it's going to survive outside in the rain when you pull those 2 things back together. You need something that will weather the storm, and where to attach it so no toxins can get in. Repair of fences and mending fences. Forgiveness may look to them as if we're blocking them out, with only a peephole to see out. The corset pulls tight where you can't breathe, but it also keeps the water out of your body so you don't blow up, and can be tied loosely, it doesn't have to be tight, in a very pretty way. But from the inside, with a corset on, the skin can't breathe when it's tight. The will-o'-the-wisp comes up here, the treasure's hidden in the shadows again, those sweet little pieces, those gems that happen in the worst of circumstances, the 62 of imprisonment, and then the release, and the lessons we learn in coming out of that imprisonment. And that can even just be imprisonment of your next door neighbor. What was learned or overcome in the dark, in imprisoning self, because you are the only one who can do that to yourself, after all. The 12 of the dragon's hoard, the 12 is the hanging man, right? Hung out to dry, or someone seeing new perspective and being wise. The dragon's hoard of protecting the future. Wisdom versus hoarding. Are you being practical, or living in fear of what may come but may never come? And most fears, 98% of most fears, never come true. So the 30 of the home and the union. What God brings together, let no man or woman, no human, put asunder. The heralding of change, initiating what will come. If you stay in the present moment and initiate your dreams, then you're dealing with this beautiful life in every moment, manifesting only beautiful things. There's nothing to protect yourself from in the future, because your present is your future. From the prison or the prisoner to freedom, and how to avoid the polarized moving forward. Or was the lesson you learned in prison, was that worth it to you? It may just be, because you may never have learned that otherwise, because often those prisoner lessons are very significant, right? The child who grew up in like the horrendous circumstances of abuse, or being in prison for 30 years. Those kind of things, you can't learn that lesson any other way. So perhaps your soul wanted to go into that extreme circumstance to speed up your progress, perhaps. At 1051 is the Wheel of Fortune and the King of Swords. After Frosty melted, remember in Frosty, the snowman, after Frosty melted, it was tears of love that brought him back to life. The first card out here was the Woodwives of 64. The Woodwives who are adaptable, right? That's that extension of the trunk of the tree. A strong part of the trunk of the tree with some space between the branches, and yet there's still the trunk. The Fortune's Wheel of the 23, the King of Wands, of luck and right timing. The imprisonment of the King of Wands reversed, or release and bliss of the King of Wands upright. The tree and the collider, an escape for the drifter. The Sagittarius, experiencing life as it comes. Patience, balance, and that higher love, even when dealing with the collider here. As with the Wheel of Fortune pictures coming up, it looks like the collider in this deck. At 1055 is the Wheel of Fortune and the 55 of the Truth, Excalibur, being able to reach out for healing, yet only depending on self ultimately, not clinging to another to fix you, that you do the work to be in your knowing. The trunk of the tree, or the divine masculine, right, that the pillar, and then the offshoots around it, the flexible divine feminine, who are more adaptable and working around him, he is more fixed. It's like the electrons running around the protons and neutrons, but the neutron is the soul of it. She is the tron of the electric for the masculine. He is the protron for the divine feminine, like he's the professional, like that she can rely on. The collider involves wood and extensions or mountain ranges underground. So these were messages coming through about the collider. It's not just a bunch of metal, right? It's connected to the wood and extensions of the mountain ranges underground, the waterways. Not only cable for electric lines going to Africa, but that would include waterways as well. The dry land and the wet sea, the collider being the coastline in the middle, the space between. The 1103 is the Justice and the Hierophant, the alignment with Mother Nature, which is they're trying to align with nature to be able to control it with the collider. The 1104 is then the Emperor, the one it's fixed. Remember, Mother Nature is the feminine, the electron who's more flexible, working around the center of the masculine collider, or the divine masculine here, and mixing it up. The bliss and higher love versus the extreme pain and the fallen angel. There's always two sides of a situation. Which way will it turn for CERN? Nobody knows. That's the point. You can shift gears, or they can, whenever they want, and affect your feelings if you are not adept. You could fall into their trap or low vibe anger or depression. If we just stay satisfied, not overeating or undereating, but just right, not too hot or too cold, avoiding extremes, we can temper the savior and perpetrator and tweak them instead, all through love and patience, faith in one's self, which is the collective love. 1108, the alignment of the 8 and the manifestation of dreams and the dance between the masculine and the feminine, whether that's within yourself or without. The crossing of the 54, the Page of Swords, and the stranger, the 53 of the Knight of Swords. The sailor in the space between comes to the light using wood, half of the tree trunk as the bridge to get to the other side, as the Page of Swords has a message to get across. But if he uses half that trunk, he may only feel now only half of a man, right? Because remember, the masculine is the tree trunk, and you've just cut it in half to make a bridge. And now he must grow the other half back to feel whole again. The stranger is the Knight of Swords, the messenger of truth, someone curious about his reflection in the water and what it would be like to dive in. As sparks fly from his hands, needing to release or use, alchemize, transmute some excess energy lines as sparks fly. Perhaps at the light at the end of the tunnel, he must dive into the water to come out the other side, but without knowing what lies on the other side, a total leap of faith, right? Is there water that actually comes up to a place where you can breathe on the other side, right? Or is it a negative energy? Is this a secret place that other people are? You never know what's on the other side. But you have faith that you're being guided this way. So you're supposed to go under the cave wall to get to the other side in the water, which is supposed to lead to your freedom. The 1113 of justice and the 13 of transformation and death, endings. The dark night of the soul. And the root girl, which is that little girl crying in the trunk of the tree. The 46 of the loving children, the inner children. And on the other hand, the disowned self of her, the little one whose branches have died off. and the new sprouts that are now coming up, struggling to survive in a rebirth. The offshoots of the trunk. This offshoot may be strong now, but they're not looking at what it took that little offshoot to get where they are now. Never giving up, just one more day, taking it one day at a time and letting go of the rest. For when you're on death's door, you can only be in the moment to decide on the next moment. Will you breathe again? And Spirit's connecting with me. The inner children pulled apart, having to rebirth alone. For even your other half can't make your decisions for you to stay or go. And the dream of the 13, the dream catcher in transition, which can be death if you so choose, is always there taunting you. The dream catcher here is the monkey, like in the Wicked Witch of the West. The witch's monk key on your back. Just close your eyes, my pretty, and go to sleep. It feels so good to just let go and drift. But without the will to live, you would not be human, and the Wicked Witch would win. But instead, you are human and you do have will, so you can say no to that Wicked Witch, and because she's lying, and you know this. I can stay awake if I just choose one breath at a time. No thoughts, no looking forward, no looking back. Just focus on the breath. She does not have power over me if I love myself. I wrap myself in love light and nature. No need to look into another's prophecy of your future, for it's only up to you to know that, just for today. Tomorrow is for the new sunrise at 11:25 of Justice and the Knight of Wands being inspired again to get up and go. Today is for being happy and satisfied, inspired and peaceful. At 11:27, again, the Justice of Truth and Balance and Alignment, and the 27 of the Ace of Wands, that third energy of inspiration and get up and go. The refusal of the call and complacency in avoiding transitions to the next, or a child in fear of going on based on their past experience. So, but as we all know, if in the dark, any next moment could be the light, the happiness you were waiting for and just had to release and have faith that all is well. The 50 of the 10 of Cups, the spirit of the river, the movement towards adventure, the 10 of Cups of that ultimate emotional happiness, of the family happiness, willing to help each other, willingness to flow, even if it means in the deep end. Sometimes holding our breath until we float back up to the top again, and that can feel like forever sometimes, floating and comfortably numb, weightlessness. But do you do need air, and are you being held under by another's emotions, not your own? Are you allowing your family, who may only have your best interest in mind, are you allowing them to hold you underwater while they discuss from the mind what's best for your heart? And which at this point is to come up for air. That's what's best for your heart, without them around perhaps, but that's only for you to decide. So you can dry off a bit, so you don't have to be so drained in all that emotion all the time. So right here is where it gets tricky, because it's a rewind. You are jumping off the diving board now in reverse, from the deep water, having plunged into those deep emotions, in a mystical, magical, quiet place with only the sound of your own heartbeat. And then going backward from this dive at 11:40, which is the alignment and the innocence of your heart of the Page of Cups. Now that's the only thing you can hear. But then backward in the surrender of the sky dancers, in the orange-yellow sphere, or that bright light, flapping your wings and fully extended, in perfect form, posing in the end of your performance, knowing you can now walk away and let go and release because you finished already. You can go away within. But then we're moving backward, remember, within the dive. So now we have to go to the first pose of child's pose, of tuck and spin, transmuting the pain and taking the leap, even though you are nervous and scared and excited and overstimulated, or in negative self-talk after dreaming all night of how it would go. Or maybe you're confident of stop, drop, and roll. It's a leap of faith that you can save yourself in the end. You know how to swim. You know how to put the fire out. The fool's journey of backing into what others have already learned to see how they did it. Like buying a pattern for a dress, for a quick basic knowledge that you can always tweak later on. Or starting from scratch to work your way up without all of that and learn the unfolding, the creative process. There is a lesson in both, you see, using another's idea and making a change, or a total new inspiration that's all your own. Or is it? Since inspiration comes from the collective consciousness, is there a need to be quick, or time to take the long way around and see the roses and squirrels and the sun in the sky? At 1150, which is justice of that emotional fulfillment of the 10 of Cups, the 33 of the Christ or unity consciousness, of standing up for oneself, for what you enjoy, for what is your heart, in that joyful muse of inspiration, the muse of music and the inner child, of music, art, and creativity of any kind, that which makes everyone come together, that it touches the heart and inspires them. Being present in the moment in the heart, the horned cactus, who's very resourceful here, kind of like a camel, the 29 of being present in the moment, all in one and very independent. At 1202, going from the masculine to the feminine and hanging out or being wise, seeing new perspectives. In the hand comes this chaos of energy. It's the universe coming in as your partner, the chaos for you to mold, taking the energy of the sun and packaging it, channeling it, perhaps toning it down and making it last. Maybe it's too hot in the raw, it's too bright in the light, too sweet to handle unless you have the right touch, the shape of the heart. At 1206, which is the Hanging Man and the Lovers. And then 27 cards were pulled that I had to count. At the bottom of all of it was again the farther gate that came up yesterday, the 55 of the Truth, Excalibur. And farther, remember, can be father in Irish. And at the top here is the dancing on one foot, that balancing act of the 9 of the Hermit, in the dance of the green moth with yellow flower in her hair. The Hermit in a mountain pose, like the Karate Kid, with very pointed toe and focused intent. Spotting, quote unquote, like you would do in gymnastics to do something on the beam. The moth with tunnel vision, the ability to stay balanced in a very precarious position. The Hermit within. Then the Green Lantern versus the Green Hornet came up, and they both came out in 2011. The 20 of Judgment and the 11 that's been coming up all throughout this whole read until now that we're in the 12s. But 20 and 11 is judgment and justice, all have to do with legal issues here. The Green Lantern has that powerful ring from a dying alien that gives them control over the world, the physical world. And the Green Hornet, with his Black Beauty car and his gun Sting, the green and yellow, the heart and the solar plexus, the heart and the sun, pairing together to be one. The 36 of the Atlas, lost in space, Will Robinson needing direction, looking closer at the earth, the inner war of the wailing tree, that little girl crying inside the hole of the tree. Now the tree has grown, but the little girl's still imprisoned inside. The 59 of the 5 of Swords in the war within, stuck inside forever, never seeing no one nice like you again. Reconciliations of the 51 of the King of Swords and the stars in the sky, meditating in the middle of the bridge, with limitless possibility. And this may be that half of a tree wood bridge that the feminine left behind after she crossed. The 41 of that Ace of Cups and the Moon Maiden under the water holding up the sphere with new beginnings of self-love and diving deep and being able to sustain that emotion while holding the weight of the world up above her, because now she's in water, which makes it really easy, with new love of the Queen of Cups in the many masks of her authentic self, right? Because she's the multitasker, she's the feminine, she's the electron, right? She's the one who has babies. And it's hard, she's hard to peg for the masculine, right? Because he's that remained, sustained focus, and she's the one, she's like the mutable energy. So the King of Swords, Atlas, in his War Within, with the Queen of Cups, Moon Maiden, without, at 1221 here, in the 58 of that 5D connection, the vanishing mirror of ego sublimation, starting fresh in a sacred contract that only two can share. The 7 of the Chariot, the calm before the storm, the ascension here of the feminine within the masculine, ascending together on 7/7 of that portal of July, to both in that calm before the storm, which is that 11th hour energy of the Hierophant and the closing of the door, the completion of prior commitments, the number 5 of societal norms, and the 6 of the Lovers as someone still not speaking their truth, because I'm not speaking clearly here. I can't get my voice fully out. The 6 of the Lovers in the cosmic web, the cosmic womb here, and cosmic is coming up. My dad's coming in again because his nickname was Cos and the mic, and that message was coming across the other day as we are being the mic for the microphone, right? We are the platform, the mouth for our ancestors. The Divine Feminine is the microphone for all those who have come before. The 6 is the love, family, and community, not only the lovers. Her children, an expression of her and them. Walkie-talkie manifestations of their hearts. Your children. The 47 of the 7 of Cups. The choice, the variety, the synchronicities. The sky bridge, the possibility for union in the pillars and the space between, for the sun and the new versus the 57 of the separate and the pressure on the heart of the stress, of the green screw of the collider, the unmarked trail, the revelation where all roads lead to from the labyrinth, right? So in the light community, all roads lead home, but where do those roads lead to in the labyrinth? At 1227, of the collider, the 12 being hanging out, the 27 being that flame or inspiration, recreating the earth or trying to, which deals with pressure on the coal and the diamond in the rough, and the elites backing into how the earth was created. What is the earth stood still. So again, the elites backing into trying to learn how the earth was created, how the earth stood still, to be able to create a new world and have that power of antimatter, which is the Divine Feminine energy. Just remember this, that no being will ever know the answer. They will just keep going, but never nearing the end to infinitum until all understand it is only love. And until you can work harder and harder to get closer and know that source. But the only direct connect to that source is from within. So in other words, the reason why the scientists will never know the answer to how the world was created, because it's impossible to know, because as we expand, as we learn, we're also expanding. It's never-ending expansion. But the ultimate reason why they'll never know is because in order for all of us to understand the creation of the world, we'd all have to be in that pure love position to become source again. And that is the only way we will ever know. You can get close, but you will never know. And we're infinitely expanding and expanding and expanding. The only way to know is through the heart inward. So we have the 1231 of the jeweled web. 12 and 31 again is the chaos of the group and the sun coming in. The 12 of the hanging man, trying to see new perspectives and go within. the jeweled web of the connectivity that we all are. And the energy of the 32 of the journeyman, right? Coming in with good news and leading the way, feeling successful. And oh, what a web we weave as the journey of connectivity and connecting the dots in an infinite web that keeps being more. How could you possibly reach the end? Remember, there's no place like home after all that. At the 27 is the Ace of Wands, the heart home, the union, the compassion. The High Priestess and the Chariot is that telepathic drive that is the third flame. She powers it up. She, the divine feminine within the masculine. It's like there's two feminines to the masculine, right? She is the divine feminine in the masculine, driving him from within to power them up. And remember, we all have masculine and feminine within us. And then the Taj Mahal was coming up at 12:35, the Hanging Man and the Wounded Warrior. That overflow of emotion and water, the overkill of abundance, and how much you actually need to be happy and satisfied. The 34 of the energetic exchange and arrows of love. The lay of the land, the king of the jungle. And then Tarzan was coming up as ancestral wisdom. The energetic exchange and love and the crop circles and Uluru were coming up here. So Uluru was coming up, was also referenced to as Ayers rock. And it's made of Arcos, which was coming up as the rock. Ayers is the English part of that, and the native or aboriginal energy is the Uluru. And the monolith coming up there. And also Mount Olga, which is about 25 kilometers west of Uluru, was coming up as well. It's also southwest of Alice Springs. So it was a reference to the collider again, because one of the big machines is Alice. So I was guided to look up a little bit about Uluru and see what other messages were coming up from that. And there was one video I found from someone who captured unique waterfalls appearing on the landmark of Uluru after the rain in Australia. This was on October 19th, 2019. So there's the reference to the Wheel of Fortune, again, the collider, and the 19 of the sun. That was March 24th, 21. And there was what came up for Uluru there was the climb closure won't have an effect on visitors' numbers, and that was coming up from ABC News on that day. And the news was Sam Frost, and Frostiest Snowman already came up today. And then Jordan Hansen was coming up because she was engaged. That was coming up. I think they were at the Taj Mahal, but Uluru and Taj Mahal were both coming up. So there was an engagement announced for her, Jordy Hansen. But there was another also announcement, someone who had got engaged, I think was at the Taj Mahal, but then said they refused to leave the country in their gay marriage to get married, and they found a place to get married. I didn't look into it, but that was just coming up that day, so I wanted to bring that up to you. At 12:44, on the 1st of July this year, they were bringing up the From the Heart Uluru Statement, recognizing the Indigenous in the Constitution, the First Nations in Australia. And then I was guided to crop circles as well. So I don't know what it was with the crop circles, what I was seeing in the cards. I couldn't find amongst the crop circles that already came out, so maybe there's another crop circle coming. In case there is, what I was seeing was a circle in the middle, but it was defined. So it was like two lines around the circle to define the outside of the circle, because not all of the crop circles have definition around the circles. So it was one circle with another circle around it to define it. And then there were other circles all the way around it, but they were all different sizes and different distances from each other. So I couldn't figure out what crop circle it was. So this could be something new. What did come up was the July 8th 11, because today is July 8th. July 8th 11 came up, the Indonesian crop circle. Sebuah, Lengkaran, Tanaman, and I don't know if that was just them speaking in their language about this, but it's the homuncular, and I just said the vernacular, which is very similar to this word. I don't know why it's coming out. It's not the same word, but homuncular or Homunculin crop circle. That was January 23rd, 11. So the year 11 is coming up a lot here as well. Both the green lantern and the green hornet came up in 11, and the time 11 was coming up through most of this read. The Gambar crop circle also, the mystery crop circle, and the messages I was getting from the crop circles I was looking at was the spin within them, right? The movement within them. These are the 3 ones that I just did little pictures just so you get the energy that I was getting. See the 3 different energies from the crop circles I was getting, and then this is one of the crop circles, and it looks like a ring within another ring, like, you know, a feminine ring within the masculine ring. And then this was just showing movement. You could literally see the movement of the spin in that circle. So the King of the Hill was coming up here at 122, which is the Magician and the 22 of the Fool. The natives and indigenous, the crop circles, first come, first serve, in energetic exchange, or the hours of love, or just lots of back and forth of communication or travel, of artistic creations. And this reminded me of this, and I forgot to do this. I can't remember what kind of fish it was, but there's a very dull looking fish, and it made me cry. There was a video, I don't know if it's the blowfish or just some kind of a very, you know, very plain fish. There's nothing special about the fish. But this fish, when they mate, they make these beautiful crop circles type of things on the bottom of the ocean. And it was funny when I was looking it up too, because there were pictures of people saying crop circles on the bottom of the ocean, and there were just probably these little circles that the fish makes when they're mating. They do this for their mate, and it's amazing. It's perfect symmetry. Like, it's unbelievable that this little fish can do it without having that perspective from high above. You know what I mean? So if you can look that up online, you should be able to find the video on YouTube. But this was several years ago that I'd seen that. But it's coming up again here regarding that. The beloved radical acceptance here of that heart on fire, which is that, it's making me want to cry now, of that little fish, you know, so humble and no one gives him any attention. But look what he does for his love. He did this perfect, you know, mandala or crop circle. The 2, I actually showed my twin that at the time. So that was many years ago. So probably like about five or 6 years ago. The 2 of the High Priestess Divine Feminine with their heart on fire. The Queen of Swords 52 of the Queen of Swords, straddling worlds and wandering between realms, with the 60 of the 6 of Swords and peaceful indigenous watchers. The transpersonal Lyrans, and notice the transpersonal Lyrans, right? The connection to us all, right? We're connected to it all. We're connected to the indigenous, the First Nations. We're connected to the Lyrans off planet. And then the 11 of the alignment of justice and the deep quiet, the meditation and stillness, the alignment of the parallels. And then the 11th parallel was coming up, which I didn't realize how much 11 was actually coming up in this read. So the 11th parallels came up, and notice this, the 11th parallel, the first one I looked at was, I think, the horizontal north, and it's exactly where North and South America meet, and that came up in my last video about the comparison of the Gibraltar Strait to the connection between North and South America, and that we have to connect with Mexico before we could ever connect with South America on a real basis. And they're all bringing up that connection of the UK and Spain to Africa underground, and our need to share with them as much as they need to share with us, right? We may need their mountains, you know, they have different climate than us in that jungle climate. So the North and South America meet, the tip of India, Thailand, and the Philippine Islands all came up in that first parallel. The 11th South parallel was, it just went through middle South America. I really didn't, and the very top of Australia and South Africa as well. But just the bottom of South Africa, the top of Australia, and straight through the middle of South America, but that's it. The 11th meridian east was Antarctica, and notice this was very significant. The Norway territory on Antarctica on this 11th meridian east connects directly to Norway, the country. So they literally are connected from their country to the Antarctica connection that they have there. Which, by the way, Norway is just east of CERN, and the 11th parallel there. The 11 West only connects through Africa and the Arctics, the North and South Pole. Norway was included there, as well as Morocco and the Sahara, which is part of the Moroccan territory, Mauritania, Mali, Guinea, and then Sierra Leone, all of that west coast, and I'm probably not saying the country names right, but that's okay. But then CERN was coming up again, and the energy of children playing, right? So you remember, we have the good children and the bad children, so there may be a mixture of both. But the CERN was coming up at 46 degrees, which is those two children loving each other, right? Being that creative child, you know. So there's that, and ultimately that, whether it's for good or for bad, it's still the inner child using their creativity to create something. And notice that the year that CERN was developed was 1954, when all of the ET connections started coming in. 54, right around then. So we don't, it's been going on a long time. It's 46 degrees, 141.8 north by 6 degrees 0, and then 0.3, and then 11.4 east. And then a white butterfly just passed by my window at that moment, so it's accentuating. Remember, it's still pulling out the inner child in them, their creativity, which that part of it is good. And the CERN is actually north of Courmayeur that I was talking about, Mont Blanc, which is the Italian side of the Alps right there. All right. And remember, I told you that Courmayeur was not coming up in Wiktionary, which is the weirdest thing, right? Because a very famous location. So I looked up CERN to see a bit if there was any news coming up. So because July 5th was the day they were going back on after having some mechanical work done or whatever they were doing for the past 3 years. And they had observed a new kind of pentaquark, the first ever pair of tetraquarks. And quarks equal exotic hadrons of subatomic particles of 2 to 3 elemental particles. So in the Fox News, they called it an atom smasher, the CERN. After 3 years of maintenance, the Large Hadron Collider will run for close to 4 years, which would end, I guess, around the end of 25 or going into 26 a little bit, operating at 3.6 trillion electron volts. They're looking for the strong force, which is actually a name of a force, that holds together the nuclei of atoms. The strong force is one of 4 forces in the universe, with the weak force, or the what did I write there? The whatever they're doing of particles. I don't know if it had to do with decomposition of the particles, or as well as the electromagnetic force and gravity. So they were just talking about the 4 forces in the universe: the strong force, the weak force, and the electromagnetic force and gravity. The ring of magnets, superconductory, is propelling infinite particles along a 17-mile circuit at near light speed, smashing them together. And my white butterfly came through again right at that moment. And there's that 17 note too of manifesting dreams coming true. The quark, that name, Q-U-A-R-K, was coined in 1963 by Murray Gell-Mann. The subatomic particle that form matter combine to form hadrons such as protons and neutrons. An integer that it identifies a text string, and it's also a word for a creamy type of cheese, the quark. It's also the black-crowned night heron. And I'm not even going to try to give you the basic name. But then also quark, where the C came up as one of the definitions of quark. So C and Q-U-A-R-K. And there was no definition yet listed for the quark with the C. So 1981, Denver software is also there for automation. Quarks don't make electrons, only the neutrons and the protons, because quarks are affected by the strong nuclear force. The electron, or the feminine, is not. 3 down quarks combined to be, so they're saying if you combined 3 down quarks to be the same negative charge as an electron, you would get a particle called delta minus. So just imagine that as a triangle with a minus, just like I was bringing up the Q with a minus as the reflection of the Q. That was coming up as the same type of thing. The Q minus to the minus equals Q with the tail on the other side. Remember, the Q is just the feminine circle and then the sperm getting into the egg. And then we have the delta to the minus equals the delta, because the triangle is the same no matter which way you flip it. So it's really the same thing. So delta minus is the same as delta. So they're saying you would get a particle called delta. It's not the same, though, as the quark. So I found a chart that said leptons and electrons, just to get a little bit more information about this, because that's not my area of expertise. So the electron with a charge of -1, also neutral electron was listed there that has no charge. If the electron, our normal electrons is that -1, but the muon is an electron with a heavier mass, and then the tau, TAU, is heavier even still and very unstable, and that was discovered in 75. The quark, there's different kinds of quarks, and one of them is the up quark. It's an electrical charge of 2/3 protons, contain 2 protons and 1 neutron. The other types of quarks are charm, top, down, strange, and bottom. So the charm one is heavier. The top is even heavier, 1995, the first one's 74, and the down is an electric charge of -1/3 protons 1, neutrons 2, and the strange quark is heavier than the down, and the bottom is heavier still. So then I, of course, had to break down the quark to see what kind of definitions we were getting here. The electron, the up and down, are ordinary, but the others are only after the Big Bang theory, found in cosmic rays and accelerators. So that's, kind of referring to what they're working with the CERN underground. So when I broke up the quark, of course, it comes up as QU and then arc, which QU comes up as the Quechua, the indigenous Peruvian Andes people, pre-Columbian language. The QU, which is also KU, which is Q, as we were just talking about Q. That those with when, it also means to die, like how, I, and me. Q, QU, KU, and the letter Q mean to copy as well. Ear and howl, like that indigenous energy. My cow to climb towards who, dog, moon, month, and dove, which is interesting too, because Indigo Angel she does a map of the dove map becoming the swan map of the United States regarding the dark energies and how things are being rearranged. You can check that out on her website if you'd like to. 222, then it was, that energy of the 2s in the divine feminine, the 2 of the feminine, the high priestess, the 22 of the fool with the open heart, and the 222, which is ultimately 6 of love, and the 11th of 12 earthly branches was coming up for QU. So here's that 11 again. The dog of the Chinese zodiac, the metal fastening, being dull, slow, unskillful. The name of divine being in Sanskrit is KH. To expel or remove also came up with the definitions. KH is also the history of Switzerland, KH molecular formula for potassium hydride, and Cambodia as well. KH is also 10 to the 3 henries of electrical inductance, not conductance, but inductance, which is, how you start it. It's It's not a connection yet. It's just like the initiation. That's the energy I was getting from it anyway. So, so ultimately the quark is coming up as the Q arc. The letter Q, but also Q, U, or K, U arc, which means to copy the arc. Remember, we're talking about all the arcs under the ocean. The arc in the Bermuda Triangle, the one under the desert in Kuwait. Or not Kuwait, but in, oh, my brain, it doesn't always work. But in the war right now with Russia, the arc under the desert, the arc under the ocean, the other arcs that have been exposed around the planet that are being activated from the off-planet mothership. So the Quechua people from the Andes in Peru, and that how was coming up from the Indians. So they're saying hello. And I just had that too come up with the other tribe in the last read I did from Mexico. So the dove, the cow, the dog, and the ark, or the moon arc. To die arc. To climb towards arc. So all these arcs were coming up in reference to that. So, and then I got a glass straw recently with crystals in it, and it's kind of hard to suck the water through this straw, but I think it's for a reason. It's like a sucking mechanism, and I feel like it's to build up those muscles or release some energy that we don't normally use, and especially if you're not breastfed, right? That sucking motion, and I'm bringing that up because it came up in the movie last night that I watched. And there's another thing that came up from that movie last night too, because it was about anorexia. It's an older movie, To the Bone. I probably even watched it before, but I couldn't remember it all. One good thing about a bad memory is you can watch movies, you never remember the details. So the movie To the Bone was about anorexia. And at the end, where she had to decide what, leave the place and decide whether she wanted to live or die, because there's nothing more they could do for her unless she chose to live. And she basically ended up outside, sleeping on the desert, on a mountain outside. And as she woke up, and she's going through all these visions, but as she woke up, she saw a circle rainbow around the sun, like my daughter had sent me a picture of, and I just talked about the other day, but it literally came up in the movie last night, as well as this other energy I'm bringing now about the need to be fed as a baby, because her mother at the end of the movie literally was cuddling her and feeding her a bottle to make her feel loved again, because they didn't have the proper connection when she was a baby. So yes, those energies are coming up on how important that is to connect, right? That commonality between all of us is that mother and child bond. The 11 of justice and meditating in the quiet. The 15 of the shadow of the dust devil and kicking things up, so to speak. Moving out of stagnation, or the stagnation of the distorted masculine energy. Of justice and alignment of the shadow work, the dark. The magician's sword and confidence in your magic, with the 37 of the King of Cups, being loving and wise with the truth. The 28 of the twins, the twin flames and the hollow bone. As I just talked about the bones, the card, the hollow bone, came up here. The empty vessel of teachability in the perpetual student of life. And remember the moose with the feathers coming up, the moose versus the elk, and then the ravens versus the crow. So the moose and the ravens were coming up here. And the ravens came up somewhere else today, but I couldn't find where it came up. The twin flame pairs of native descent. The ravens. A quark, by the way, in fandom, the ravens. And then quark calls came up as the caw. It was a video of this raven with a really like soft quack, quack, quack. And it sounded like caw, but there's a little K sometimes there. But they were calling them quark calls. The most basic type of flying quark. And then quark shoes came up as well, with Clearwater CNX Raven brand, type of their shoe. So the moose and the ravens were coming up there, as well as the year of the dog, right, the loyal one. And then the hadron with the lost compass, right, that looks like the collider. The 35 of the wounded warrior who lost their way and is now getting back to their integrity. The 18 of the moon and the purple moon of the 0 point field. The eye of the eagle rising above the fray. the artistic bright eye, and then I was getting turn around bright eye. So that's coming from Total Eclipse of the Heart. It's really high though. Every time I fall apart, turn around bright eyes. That comes at the end. But anyway, turn around bright eyes was coming up with the eagle's eye, and Spirit's connecting with me. With hanging circles around the clock, the atom that I was just talking about, and the 43 of the coming together of the Three of Cups. At the Taj Mahal, overflowing with overwhelm and plenty. At night, maybe feeling overwhelming, but at day, the magician and the number 1 of the masculine with a tidy house. Of clarity and organization. They're coming up as polarized energies of houses like the Taj Mahal, and then the one in the woods that's made all of nature, but it's still big. And do you really need all that? Too much water versus too much earth. As the eagle spies on the farther gate, cave, in a bold step forward. The 55 of the truth and Excalibur, perhaps the X's caliber, and the truth. As the double gates and the double suns, a crack in the mountain that we call home. The Mary Magdalene cave, the Bat cave, and the E Tower combined. The cave with a rip in it. The heart is the home. The 253 of the High Priestess and the Knight of Swords, our safe place to become inspired. The eagle's haunch or perch, where the green moth dare to go. She's like a cross between the wasp and the butterfly. The hermit with balance. Eve, N, lowercase n for me is Jesus. So it's Eve like Adam and Eve, but Jesus, Eve and Jesus. So again, mixing them up, different cultures, different religions. It's showing you that again. Even on one foot. The woodwives adapt to change. The delta. Destined to flow and bridge with deep diver. The bliss of the King of Wands, Sagi, or patient angel. And the Page of Swords, Knight of Swords, kids, perhaps, or messages from the other side, heralding in the changes or the delta. Remember, the delta is at the river where it becomes 2 as 1. The 56, 62, and 12 numbers came up here, the knowing of release and hanging out, or imprisoned and hung out to dry. The challenge, the will, the dragon's hoard, the root girl not wanting to grow, I don't wanna, which came up yesterday with Pisces. The inner child dying versus the transitioning or feeling psychically attacked at 302. The mother and the High Priestess are divine feminine. The 10 of Cups family between peace and chaos. The driftwood and the hand, which can reference the masculine, and walking away to be free to leap, even if you have to hug yourself. The time in the sun for number 1 with an open heart. After the purge, sewing up the wound, done oozing now, and the first breath, now complete, inspiring the unity, standing up for self and expressing creatively. The present to the gifts, even if unusual, even if they're puffy and sharp at times, molding chaos, that ball of energy from the sun, a different kind of playing ball, requires great balance and timing, and being green, like the moth to the flame, and living in a cave that's beautiful with lots of light. Perhaps it was the Father's gate, or the Father's gate, at 308, which is the mother and the dance between the masculine and the feminine, and manifesting your dreams. So it's again bringing up this cave that doesn't have to be a dark place, right? The Bat cave doesn't have to be a dark place. It can just be really stable because it's the cave and a mountain and really feng shui, right? But yet have lots of light at the same time because they have ingenuity and they found a way to pump light into the place. So that was the read from yesterday, and now we're going to go on to today, which isn't that long, but it had quite a few profound messages as well, continuing and connecting from yesterday. So today is the 8 of the dance and manifestation of the dreams of the masculine and feminine dance, and the day adds up today to the 21 of the whole, the completion, coming full circle, and the Pisces energy, the divine feminine as well. And again, the wounds of anorexia, bulimia could be coming up as well, but also superficial love, right? Of people who aren't loving their children because they had more important things to do, or, you know, just being superficial. And actually, when I woke up this morning, I was guided to listen to some of my old songs that I've written that I haven't listened to in a long time. At 7:37, which is the Chariot, and the 37 of the King of Cups. And this read was done at 9:21 to 22, which is the 21 again coming up of the completion of the Hermit, the 9, which is also the 1 and the all, the collective consciousness, the compassion, the endings, and the 22 of the Fool's journey of taking off into that new journey with an open heart and a leap of faith. So now you're looking at the card on the read on the table there, and I'm going to show you the picture of the whole read just so you have that as well. So here's the read on the table that you see, so you can see the cards close up because they have a lot of detail. Okay, and I'll bring them a little closer too. All right, so coming from the underlying energies across. Okay. So this is the same. The underlying energies are all the way on the left, and then it's just cards coming out naturally across in the way they came out. So from Nature's Whispers, the underlying energy here of expansion, the number 12, contemplation, 29, keep your dreams alive, 25, which is the Knight of Wands, the 12 is the Hanging Man, the 29 is the Three of Wands, being present in the moment, and then ultimately the higher ground and the underlying energies of the 20, of judgment, the wake-up call, perhaps announcement and making calls as well. The manifestation of reaching out across the lands as the divine masculines coming into bridge the 3D, 5D gap across the double rainbows, which are reflections of each other, right? One is in the order of the chakra system, but the first one is the opposite order. The buck with little girl comes forward to ground you, to make you real, like Pinocchio becoming a real live boy. Here's the masculine coming across to hold your hand to make you a real live girl of this world, to make your dreams come true. Wise perspectives and expansion. The 4+4 hot air balloons, carrying the ships away, or perhaps they're coming in, or an equal exchange, a deal made by a handshake, not a contract. Present lioness contemplating the world, the masculine's little girl, or the little girl with a masculine lion, king side within, with butterfly crown looking up in the sky as crystal blue baby blows a kiss to you. The Knight of Wands is riding in to save the day, to keep your dreams alive. A beautiful white golden violet rose brought to higher ground, which is very interesting too, because this morning my yellow roses from all the rain had been weighed down and they were facing downward, so I gave them a little support and tucked them under another branch so that they could stay up and get the light. So it's the energy of, you know, look up to get the light. A wake-up call to look up. The little girl and those on board the rose ship, like I talked about yesterday, and the little bugs on the rose, in a wake-up call to all that is, to higher ground. And by the way, I went to open my doors for when my maintenance person has to come today. I wanted to make sure the doors were open in case I was still videoing when he showed up, so he could just come on in and do his work. And as soon as I went to my front door to make sure it was open, 2 green flies landed, not separately, but it looked like one fly, but there was 2. They literally landed on my handle as one at the very moment I touched the door. It was incredible. And then they flew away. But again, the green, like the green hornet and the green flies came up side by side, literally like they were attached at the hip. Seeing new perspectives at present or about your gifts, and the Knight of Wands blossoming to a higher vibrational place. The first card coming out was Be Spontaneous of the 31. And the 31 is the 5 of Wands, which is the chaos of the sun, of the group, of the many. And to catch your breath with the 13 in transition, perhaps, you know, needing to get away from that group or that chaos. The 19 of shifting your energy, and the 46 of gratitude and appreciation, which are these 4 cards here, which I love these cards. Some of them are just so beautiful. With 2 pixies and fairies reaching out to each other or mother and child, across the orange moon, or the peachy state, to the little one in the iris, the flower, the rose. As the helicopter went over at 9:46, there's that energy again of the innocent children. The hermit and the innocent children, or child, the children hugging each other. Excuse me. So the little one in the iris, the flower, and the rose. Jack, and there's that reference to Titanic of Rose and Jack. Jack be nimble, Jack be quick, or quark. I didn't get that till now. Jack be nimble, Jack be quark. Jack jump over the candlestick. Back to where you once belonged, which Pisces got yesterday. Flowers in the gardens reaching out to the tree. The little girl's shadow reaching out to cling to the tree trunk. The elephant's nose that holds the flame in the quote-unquote flame game coming up here. To feel grounded, the little girl wants her mommy or daddy, or the one who protects her, to catch her breath, bringing sunshine and a shift in your energy. The mothership, Noah's Ark. The Q arc is the moment of conception, of birth, gladly carrying the weight of the world on a wing and a prayer, just like the planet Earth, that you walk around with a whole civilization on you. Wherever you go, we will follow, just like came up in the read yesterday for the twin flames. The Queen of Pentacles reverse was coming up as always following the Knight of Pentacles. Wherever you go, we will follow, trusting the mothership to be good to them, to herself, right? So everyone who lives on your body or on the earth is trusting the earth, or you, everything living on you is trusting you to love you enough to take care of them. As she flies over the valley of the she or the Sha and the Tao, bringing sunshine wherever she goes, the sunshine on her shoulders, understanding that everything is connected, down to the quark. 46, the little girl and the unicorn soulmates in the glow of the rainbow around the planet, that circle rainbow at 10 o'clock. And again, that rainbow is coming up as that seal. Remember I told you, I used to talk about this all the time, that the rainbow bridge would ultimately go all the way around the earth and when it's done. And now they're coming up as that rainbow is now complete. And that's the 21 of today. Wow, I didn't get that before either. 10 o'clock is the triple zeros of source energy supporting the 1 of the magician embodiment and the destiny of the 10. So the rainbow has come full circle around our sun, and that's referencing both suns, right? The masculine and the sun. As and I just was guided to turn back the page to read something about the cabinet, and that had to do with me and my vitamins this morning. But there's something about the cabinet in politics. So there's something about that. Maybe it has to do with my cabinet, but it's coming up for you guys too. So the unicorn soulmates in the glow of the rainbow around the planet, of sweet, sweet love, appreciation and gratitude for each other. All beings appreciate loving attention, including the insects on your flowers. Show your support with the 40 of the Page of Cups as that pure, innocent heart that you are. A symphony of you with the birds, the trees, the flowers, and the man walking by. Perhaps as I played my multiple CDs for them this morning, right, from my bedroom window. All feel the love, not just the humans, the pixies and the fairies, the trees and the valleys, the lakes, the rivers, and the ponds and the creeks, not just the ocean that we always appreciate, but the unicorn, the birds, and the flowers, and all the children, all my children around the world, especially that little girl or boy that's close to you. The nut or acorn doesn't fall far from the tree, you see. Find the common ground at 10:08, which is that Wheel of Fortune and the dance between the masculine and feminine in the manifestation of their dreams together and their destiny. And I was coming up, as I told you yesterday, the day before, that October 8th was always a date that it always used to come up for me, and it came up again here when I literally wrote find the common ground. That was 10:08. The potential gateway of the 50, which is the 10 of Cups of home sweet home, perhaps Alabama, but also all Obama was coming up here. As for some reason I was being guided into looking up some information, and the first thing came up was the New York Post of 12/21/21 was a message about Obama and his daughters hitting the water for an annual Hawaiian Christmas vacation, which was his former home as a child. And then I immediately got, so where's Chevy Chase, right? It's Hawaiian Christmas vacation. And then because Al Obama was coming up, or Al Obama, his daughter Malia was coming up because she's got the AL in her name with Obama. So I don't know what it is with her that may be up and coming, but there's something significant there. She is a Harvard grad, and there was reporting that she had graduated from Harvard over the summer, and there's probably a lot of gossip about her that I have no idea. It's probably not true, but I can't say all of it's not true. But yeah, don't believe what you read in the news, or just don't read, the rags, or even the news, because even the news lies too. So, they were talking about her wearing her pink, all they could say was about her wearing her pink tie-dye bikini top and a white skirt and baseball hat for the water outing that they were on, because they were at the beach together. And when I read this, it just sexualizes so much. And then when I looked at the picture, it was just, a girl wearing a half top. It wasn't a bikini top. It was just like, it was probably a bikini top, but you know how now they have kind of a running top, bikini top thing. It was very modest, and she had a white skirt on, and she wasn't looking like a sex pot, but that's the way they make it out to be. And by the way, Obama was literally born, I think I knew this before, but I worked with a doctor too, who his birthday was August 2nd, which is very close to Obama, which is the August 4th, the same year as me. And underneath this article about the Obamas, right under it was, the advertising, read next, telling dying unvaccinated COVID patients it's too late. Like this is the advertisement that's on your New York Post. Just saying, okay? So you all know about Obama and the 44th presidency. So this, for some reason, it's coming up here. He got the 2009 Nobel Peace Prize. They were highlighting the things he had done in presidency, right? Osama bin Laden and Iran and the nuclear deal and legalization of gay marriage by the Supreme Court was all under Obama's being in the presidency. His father was from Kenya. He was actually born in Hawaii. He won a scholarship to the University of Hawaii, or rather, yeah, that's when he met his wife. His father, not him. And so then, Obama was born in Honolulu 8/4/61. His parents separated. His father went back to Kenya. So, he's a product of a broken marriage, which we all know that. His father passed away in a car accident in 1982. He only saw him, it said, like once since he had left after the divorce. She remarried in 1965, married an Indonesian man, Lolo Sotoro, and moved to Jakarta. So they moved to there in the late 60s, and she worked at the U.S. Embassy there. His half-sister Maya was born in Jakarta in 1970. At age 10, back to Hawaii with the grandparents. He lived with the grandparents and went to an elite private school where he wrote his memoir, Dreams from My Father. And then he ended up going to, college in LA, and then Columbia in New York. And then he graduated in 1983, which actually is funny because that's the same year I graduated from college as well. And then he went to Harvard Law, which he completed in 1991, which is when I got married. So there's all these same completion points. And that's the year I actually started my job at Penn too, because I was at University of Penn Hospital for 25 years. So he worked then in a church group in Chicago developing low-income communities there, and that's where he met Michelle, who also went to Harvard, while working a summer associate job at a law firm there. And they were married at Trinity United Church of Christ, and that was October 3rd, 1992. So it just went on about his focusing on nuclear non-proliferation, and also talked about the threat posed by the avian flu at the time. And and about destroying mass weapons, right, in other countries like Russia and Europe and Eastern Europe. And he fought for equal pay. That was his first thing of international diplomacy and vision he was known for. And by the way, Malia, his daughter's birthday was just 7/4, so significantly she's coming up for whatever reason. Michelle Obama's Capricorn, she's 1/17/64, which my sister was born 2 days before her. I know that energy very well. So that's so funny. I just told you that the doctor I worked with was 2 days from Obama, and my sister's 2 days from Michelle. I wonder if they're supposed to come together. That is a very strange combination. Now, my sister may be available, but I don't think he is. He's married to a very lovely person, but I have no idea. I haven't talked to him in years. Just talking to myself. So, when I put in Alabama as Al Obama, also Al Green's Let's Stay Together came up when he sang that. I think that was an inauguration, January 20th, 12. And then there was news currently, 7/8/22 today, besides the Japanese leader being killed, there was news online, you know, just the videos that pop up right away when you open your computer, that Trump and that Kari Lake who was endorsed by Trump, the Arizona candidate, Kari Lake, supported Obama, which information was true. But again, Trump was the same way. He was Democratic and then ran Republican. So again, there's bringing that energy of someone who can see things from both sides, which is important here. I was trying to get some energy regarding the 3 presidencies because they're all coming up, right? So Barack, Trump, and then the current presidency. And I was getting a lot of negative energies, but I think it was coming out because of the reactions to the things today, because both of the presidents had met the Japanese leader and were giving condolences to the family. So there was death energies coming up. That was specifically coming up around the current presidency. And I just want to say pregnancy, so I don't know if somebody's pregnant. But there was court issues coming up around Biden as well. But that could just be because he's dealing, you know, he's talking about Roe versus Wade in the public today, as well as dealing with the death of the presidency. But that energy was coming up around him as well. So just saying, initially before I had read that news, I was getting the energy of, you know, somebody, there may be a suit to the government because of something that happened. But again, there could be illness or death around that energy. As far as the other 2 presidents, just real, you know, basically, I was just getting them dealing with issues with their families and marriages and stuff like that, and houses. And I think that was, you know, there's been a lot of public news about Obama's house, as you know, after the presidency, where they moved and where they're living, their houses and that kind of stuff. So that was coming up. And I'm getting stuff about the kids. So there was that, you know, one post that came up with Obama and his kids. So Malia, I'm not sure if that's how she pronounces her name or not. But I was also getting the descendants of Trump as well coming up. And there's some kind of connection. And it may not be a positive connection between Obama and Trump, but there was some kind of connection between them, very specifically, where the fallen angel was between them. And they could be losing patience with each other, but it was 2 different times there was energy coming up of them. It's like the common ground thing, right? So the 2 enemies who find common ground because they both are pissed off at the same thing. Well, that energy was coming up between them. It doesn't have to be enemies, but just, you know, 2 people of opposing views, they come to common ground with each other because now they agree on the same thing in a disagreement with somebody else. And that's been coming up with the children in the other reads for the twins, right? So if you're divorcing and your kids are pissed off at you, let them stay pissed off at you because they're bonding with their sibling or a friend or whoever it is, or maybe if you don't have 2 kids, maybe it's a pet they're bonding with. Let them go through this to come to their own conclusion. because they will come back to you if you've been a loving parent. If you've been an abusive parent, you know, what am I going to say to you? But the message was to let them be, because this is an opportunity for them to bond with a sibling perhaps that they hadn't been getting along with. And this is the same energy that's coming up with Obama and Trump, which is like siblings, you know, sibling rivalry. Like they're just both little kids and very wealthy man. And yeah, that's what is coming up. Just like it's coming up as the little kids at CERN, you know, the little boys playing with their toys, you know. That, just saying, that's what came up. All right, so I have to bring this up too because it comes up in a positive way in my read as I continue. But, you know, there's a lot of crap about Amalia, who's only 24 years old, right? And saying these awful things about her. And whether they're true or not doesn't really matter. Like, she deserves to have her privacy. It's not her fault that her father's the president. And, you know, if she may have not done anything, or she might have tried a drug, or might have done something else that she wasn't supposed to do. But even if she did, you know, she's allowed her privacy, and it's probably a lie anyway, you know. So don't believe everything you read. But I just wanted to bring that up because white powdery stuff came up, and it's proving the point what I just said about don't feed into this crap, because the white powdery stuff comes up in a very positive way as I go on with the read. So just stay tuned. So at 11:51, I went back to the cards. 11:51 is the Justice of the King of Swords and the potential gateway of the 50. So now we're at the 50 is here, the potential gateway. And the 23 of the King of Wands, which is here. I'm going to show you this too. I love these. I love all these cards. These are so beautiful. So here's the potential gateway, and then here is, and you see what a dream that is of the home inside the tree of the heart. It's just so beautiful, and you see how the tree reflects the underneath. And again, that aurora borealis type of energy down here of the plasma ethers and the fantasy place. And then here is that energy of the masculine energy over here. He's out of the picture because he doesn't want the attention, but yet he's allowing her the attention, and he's giving her the attention in their special place that they've dreamed of, their little nook on the beach with their little boat with the ship coming in and the blossoming horizon. It's just really beautiful energy there. So it's coming up as that the King of Wands, you are worth it. The inner tree, in its reflection, is the happy family. And the King of Wands, you are worth it. 7 candles and a perfect storm, I was going to say, but it's not. It's a perfect picture view of the ship coming in and blossoming on the horizon. As the King of Wands is able to see, to picture his dreams, his vision for 2. And now he's able, maybe his third eye is opening, right? Because the crown was being said to crack open this week. The 5 of the Hierophant and clearing out of the old. The 11:54 of Justice and the Page of Swords of the message. Clearing out the old, the darkness. Stonehenge was coming up in this card as well, and that portal. The bewitching hour. The shady places. Keep it light. And then right when I wrote that, I heard something move underneath my front living room window, right in the middle, in the basement. Or was that outside? But I was getting like furniture moving. So people moving in and out or getting new furniture could be happening, or even a new window. And what hangs there? What things are old energy that maybe don't resonate with you? And don't get rid of stuff that you love. But if there's something that doesn't resonate with you, why you still have it there? Let the light in. Maybe there's a place for a new window. Maybe somebody wants to put a new window in that never was there before. Maybe it was a wall before. At 12:07, which is the Hanging Man and the Chariot, that bold move to see a new way, and then rise above, awaken in the perfect setting, or on toe, or on top. So this is the pile of cards I had to count, was 21 cards. And it was 11 cards in the first read. This one had 21 cards, and today's date adds up to 21. So again, confirming that completion point of the rainbow coming around, all the way around the planet, of the rainbow bridge, the breakthrough at the bottom of all of this, and the 8 of the dance between the masculine and feminine manifesting their dreams, And at the top of it is the perfect setting that I just showed you. The completion of Pisces, with one toe in this world and one in the next. At the bottom, free to swan dive into the ocean with the butterflies. A breakthrough of the dance, manifesting of dreams. And there's that dance of the butterflies as well. And the Leo heart. At the top is the hermit in the perfect setting to paint. The mountain and valley and the sun peeking through, right? That heart of the lion and the lamb. The 27 of the inspiration, inspired to maintain that childlike spirit on a swing, perhaps in the winter, in the woods with the sun peeking through again. The 4 of the emperor, that stability, and touching that tree to pause for a moment, to just touch that touchstone before you go on and feel. The 16 as a reminder, and then the 16 of that sudden event, that inner wisdom or truth of the world at the base of the tree. And in the winter, the assurance of the 14 of that temperance card of being patient and balanced through the seasons of your life into a higher love of all kinds and all ages. And remember to let's stay together. At 12:15, the hangman and the devil are the shadow, and the energetic exchange of vulnerability, even so, of the child in the leaf when they fall and float down the borealis river of dreams in the pink moon or pink solar eclipse 1986, which is coming up as a group in an album or song, I guess. And then the eclipse is coming up, right? The last eclipse was considered a pink eclipse on April 30th, 22. But the next solar eclipse is 10/25, and the lunar eclipse is 11/7 to 8. And there's that alignment of the 7 to 8, which is the 78 of the dream come true, the heaven on earth, with 9 candles complete, with 2 stars, making it 11 again. Perhaps Greek Isles coming up here as the high priestess divine feminine and illumination with the butterfly to the moon, with a peach glow, the weight of the world as the crown opens, the brain on fire, in the know, connected with all of the arriving. And the animal kingdom. So the crown's opening, the brain on fire, in the know, connecting with all of the animal kingdom and queendom, but I was just getting the quarkdom. As the shores awaken, or the lady basking, bathing in a tub or a body of water, the 18 of the moon, the purple moon, a bouquet of you in new experiences and possibilities, with the butterfly just next door. And this is so funny because all this Leo and butterfly energy is literally my neighbor's daughter coming to connect with me, because you know our kids grew up together, and I see her mom all the time because we're friends, and you know, if I go away or something, you know, she takes care of things for me. But now I'm connecting with her daughter because she's not available for me, and I haven't seen her in so long. It's been a while, but my daughter's coming home too, and they're friends. So this energy of this, and she's Leo, and this little girl energy, she looks just like her in the card too. It's so weird, but it's this energy of this other little girl coming to connect with me as well, not just my daughter, and not just my daughter's other friend, which I've told you about that I'm very close with, but now I have another one from down the street that's coming up to connect. So there's that lion heart of and the butterfly energy of being, you know, strong like the lion. It's like I'm getting Muhammad Ali, right? Dance like a butterfly and sting like a bee, but it's that energy of the lion heart, but free like a butterfly at the same time. The King of Cups and that unconditional love in an ideal course of action as she remains in the water. The mountain actually moves to her. The city towards the nature and unconditional love at 12:29, which is the hanging man, and the 3 of Wands being present in the moment. The 11 of justice and making a decision of the desert versus the jungle land, perhaps Egypt or Sedona versus Machu Picchu or Peru or Mexico or South America. Aligning and making a wish, green buttercup. The 32 of the journey and trusting your own understanding of the way the world should look, whether it's the Gibraltar Strait or Oaxaca to South America, no matter where the divisions are. The 38 is the Queen of Cups, the Mary Magdalene, the acceptance of love in a high vibe destiny. Open your heart to the swan man, as the little ones are up to something, but it looks like they're doing something sneaky but good. With the 42 and the 2 of Cups, let love be your beacon, all aglow in orange, the sacral chakra, and the copper heart displayed as the peacock. There's this peacock of a sidekick energy coming up here, and the 17 of dreams coming true, with infinite blessings and a sprinkle of fairy dust too. White fairy dust across the villages, 309, and the 22 of the Fool, of the Fool's journey, and a leap of faith on the tightrope that others can't see, with a safety net below that they can't see either. Or maybe you're ziplining through the jungle in the borealis lights with rainbows all around you, a ring around our sun. The 39 of the Knight of Cups, and that clear endeavor to sparkle wherever you go, pure as the driven snow, and pastel lights, as each star becomes all of the colors, not just white. The 28 of the Twin Flames, bountiful harvest, paint it your way as the doves help you and the butterflies, getting ready for the swan perhaps, the crazy beautiful colors all around the Earth's atmosphere, and a splash of open heart for good measure. And that was at 12:44 as a plane flew over very close. Hanging Man and the 44 of grounding, integrating, and mastering love, but it's also the energy of the social worker atlas. And that's where I saw the 2 green flies land on my front door handle. And that's right when vernaculars came up as well. Finding a common language. It means the indigenous or natural language, but it also means the home of the born slaves, right? Which is the commonality in the home, right? Because the slaves would raise the children. The standard way to connect and communicate. But also, this literally was the last definition I read. Vernacular is connected to a collective memory, not an import. It's not imported. I thought that was so funny. So all collected to the same memory. So finding that common ground was all about the energy from today. So I'm going to let you go, because we're already at an hour and a half, and I want to try to finish up the last 3 signs today, which is Aries, Taurus, and Gemini, I believe. Yes. So I'm going to let you go. Remember your water, your rest, your joy in your nature, and do whatever you want. But be good to yourself, really. And rise and be love, and rise. I'll see you guys soon.